Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Robin.
Tease.
The way that you get rid of people, mass amounts of people sinning and going to jail, is to free things up.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please.
July 14th, lunchtime, down Center City.
That side is M1. No left-hand turns. You can only make a right turn, but do not enter. And this side is N1.
The brief references to pay attention to on the 14th of July is the left-hand turn, do not enter, N1, and notice that all the signs are on poles. July 14th. Now every day Trump does his briefings around, what is it, like 5 o'clock, sometime around dinner.
And if you look at the job he did on swine flu, I looked at a poll. They have polls on everything nowadays. And they got very bad marks on the job they did on the swine flu. H1N1. He calls it N1H1.
July 14th, around dinner time.
Yes. At the expense of many other nations who benefit. It was actually drawn, in my opinion, to take advantage of the United States. Just like so many other deals are done to take advantage of the fools running the United States. But today, Joe Biden gave a speech in which he said that the core of his economic agenda is a hard left crusade against American energy. He wants to kill American energy. He wants to re-enter the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord, which will destroy us.
July 14th. Around noon.
No left-hand turns. You can only make a right turn, but do not enter. And this side is N1.
H1N1. He calls it N1H1.
And this side is N1.
And if you look at the job he did on swine flu, I looked at a poll. They have polls on everything nowadays. And they got very bad marks on the job they did on the swine flu. H1N1. He calls it N1H1. H1N1. Got very poor marks from Gallup on the job they did on swine flu. One of the very respected media outlets. President Trump had to do that, and I was a crowd of one. Because even experts didn't want to do it. They thought it was a mistake. And then I did Europe when I started seeing what was going on in Italy and Spain and France and other countries in Europe. I did. And we saved tens of thousands of lives, but we actually saved millions of. And we saved tens of thousands of lives, but we actually saved millions of lives by closing. By closing up, we saved millions, potentially millions of lives. Could be a number that we're actually working on, but it could be 2 to 3 million lives. So 2 to 3 million lives. So we're at 135,000, which is terrible. One is too much. But we would have had millions of people dead from this curse that came at us. Bombers. Hope we don't have to use them.
That identically match bombings that y'all have never seen hidden on the building's reflection in the water. Okay, so how is it I was able to spit out a bunch of words during a prophetic utterance that identically match bombings that y'all have never seen hidden on?
Causing havoc by 2035. Zero. We're talking about.
Oh, that's the insurrection.
Zero. Nothing can go in the air. Mandate net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And I believe he's changing that. He's bringing it down. He wants no petroleum product. He wants no oil or gas. I don't think Texas is going to do too well. They're going to get rid of about 7 million jobs.
Getting to the end
if you go by the Biden plan. I don't think that Oklahoma, North Dakota, Pennsylvania.
July 8th, 5:55, and then 8:48 a.m. There's no bombing in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
We would have had thousands of people additionally die but we stopped it.
So instead of the bombing at 8:48 a.m., at 8:48 a.m., rivers of water came out of the desert in a dry place for the first time that I've ever seen all summer long. Any water, anywhere in Center City, popping up.
Pretty real.
At Chops, like Seattle.
Fountains of water. Well, that just turned on now, obviously.
So instead of the bombing, as I'm saying at 17th JFK, the Penn Center Building 8 is referencing the $50 bill on the back, the bombing, which is the Hoover Dam, which is the floodgates opening up. Instead of that bombing, it's these water streams rising up out of the dry desert ground.
When I share all these miracles in one compilation with you guys, y'all are going to be like...
So on July 8th, 2020, as I'm here on my bike, I'm looking over right before 8:48 a.m., probably around 8:45, I was right there, looking up at that building, seeing somebody up on the roof, right around there, looking all weird because it wasn't somebody with, you know, it doesn't have the scaffolding where someone's cleaning the windows, so that's why it looks so unusually odd. So again, July 8th, 8:45 to 8:48 a.m. is this video, and the same day, later on at night, this is Kleck.
He literally manifested it in a bed in a river that was dry, and then right when I was jumping, that the stream started running in a dry riverbed.
And when I start, you'll obviously see that the river's not running. Right there. There's no water there. I've never seen it. As many times as I went back and forth, I never seen water sprouting up from the ground anywhere in Center City, except for right at this mark, waiting for the bomb.
Pretty real.
At Penn Center 8. The bomb doesn't go off, but that does.
Fountains of water.
In a dry riverbed. It's like when I was jumping, that the stream started running.
Well, that just
in a
turned
dry
on now,
riverbed.
obviously.
It's so crazy. So anyway, yeah.
Before that, I'm standing on the Rocky Steps at 5:55 a.m. because I'm expecting the William Penn building to get hit at 5:55 a.m. and then at 8:48 a.m. 17th and JFK, which is straight down here. So nothing happened.
Others too, they all thought what I did was a terrible mistake. We would have lost, in fact, Dr. Fauci said we would have lost thousands of additional people if President Trump had to do that. And I was a crowd of one, because even experts didn't want to do it. They thought, and I'll make them again. If somebody needs them, we'll give them to you. Very well documented. A month later, he admitted I was right. We would have had thousands of people
So I guess that would be
additionally die if we let
August
people
7th,
come in from heavily
August
infected
8th.
China. But we stopped it. We did a travel ban in January. Nancy Pelosi was dancing in the streets of Chinatown in San Francisco a month later, and even later than that.
30 days.
And others too. They all thought what I did was a terrible mistake. We would have lost, in fact, Dr. Fauci said we would have lost thousands of additional people if President Trump had to do that. And I was a crowd of one. There's millions of people dead from this curse that came at us. But we did what we had to do, and now we'll put out the flames as it happens. We have to get the schools open. Closing up, we saved millions, potentially millions of lives. Could be a number that we're actually working on, but it could be 2 to 3 million lives. So we're at 135,000, which is terrible. One is too much. But we would have had millions of people dead from this curse that came at us. But we did what we had to do, and now we'll put out the flames as it happens.
This is all still on the same day, July 14th. This is July 14th. Lunchtime. Trump, dinner time.
I looked at a poll. They have polls on everything nowadays. And they got very bad marks on the job they did on the swine flu. H1N1. He calls it N1H1. H1N1. Got very poor marks.
And this side is N1.
On the job they did on swine flu.
Now up that direction, the concrete has like a penis tip head to it, and then it goes up into a V.
Here by the art museum. And then this. And then the ovaries. And then as soon as you're birthed, it's the first thing a baby sees is a doctor with a mask on. Going up here. The crown. And this is the largest altar in the world.
Okay, now I'm going to show you that exact thing inside of a big serpent.
Which represents that. Going right to this part here, because it's the birthing. Here Johnny's going to explain when he was up on that one Liberty building at 8:48 a.m. on July 8th.
I literally stopped and looked down, and I'm like looking at two separate rocks, and I hear the Lord tell me, pick up those two black rocks. I told you, I did a testimony.
Mothers aren't happy about that. Fathers aren't happy about that. They worked hard to buy a house, and now they're going to watch the housing values drop like a rock, and that has happened. Drop like a rock.
The YouTube house, the two towers being desolate.
So we're not going to do that. We're going to do the exact opposite.
This is the next day, July 15th, 2020. Remember, opposite.
Brazil, but Chile is the key word. Chili. Even like a reference to eating chili. It's chili. Boy, sure it's chili in here. Like anything like that would be appreciated. Just for kicks and giggles.
Because I'm talking to Trump, asking him to give a reference, you know.
Because you can't prove, nobody can really prove that when anybody says that on the mainstream, that they're just giving me a shout out. But you know it and I know it, and others know it, and it's fun. Man, these are, it's like a pillow. It's like a comforter. Man, these things are so thick. Because it's the opposite of chilly out today.
And then the very next day, July 16, 2020, Trump wasted no time.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please. That's a nice crowd on a nice, cool day. It's beautiful, though. Might be hot, but it's beautiful. We're here today to celebrate and expand our historic campaign to... Thank you very much, everybody. Please. That's a nice crowd on a nice, cool day. It's beautiful, though. Might be hot, but it's beautiful.
Because it's the opposite of chilly out today.
So here's where I was, or where the circle is. And on the 14th of July, at dinner time,
Human trafficking, one of the worst things ever, all at a level that it's never been at because of the internet. You wouldn't think, you think of it as an ancient statement. You wouldn't think that's possible.
same day, lunchtime.
It's human trafficking of women and children. And they want to let that continue. The wall has stopped it so much because they will go over to a section where there aren't people.
There's the round.
Not an entry point. And they'll make a left into the United States. They're on their
Not
way.
an
They can't
entry.
do that anymore. We have a
Left.
30-foot
30 days.
6 feet into the ground.
30 days from that 30-day decree, it seems like. But the reference to not entering, hard left-hand turn, referencing the circle because the stop sign's over here.
Let that continue. The wall has stopped it so much because they will go over to a section where there aren't people, not an entry point, and they'll make a left into the United States. They're on their way. They can't do that anymore. We have a 30-foot wall that goes 6 feet into the ground. It stops a lot of the tunneling because they're pretty good at tunnels. We watch the tunnels, and we have equipment for that. You can't make a left anymore and come into the United States loaded up with human traffic with the pandemic. So there's never been a time when two candidates were so different. I mean, I've seen races where it's like the same
YouTube.
exact platforms. I'm even talking about essentially Democrat, Republican. There's not that much difference. There's a little difference, but there's not much. Choose one because you like the way they look, you like the way they sound, you like the way they talk. You like someone that gives power. You don't like the other, but there's, there's never been a difference. Here's one of the greatest differences. This is without question the single biggest difference. If you want law and order, for instance, I enacted recently when I saw all that was going on with federal monuments. We don't have the right to do states, although we're trying to find it. So they want to take down the wall. They want to have open borders. Think of open borders today, though, with the pandemic. I mean, the timing is sort of interesting, but with the pandemic. So there's never been a time when two candidates were so different. Human trafficking, one of the worst things ever, all at a level that it's never been at because of the internet. You wouldn't think, you think of it as an ancient statement. You wouldn't think that's possible today.
I'd like to tell you that what is going on right now is a very ancient strategy.
And children, but women mostly. Human trafficking, one of the worst things ever, all at a level that it's never been at because of the internet. You wouldn't think, you think of it as an ancient statement. You wouldn't think that's possible.
And I'm going to tell an ancient story, but in a more compressed version. So I'm going to tell you the story about Inky and Enlil one more time. And for those that are new, I'll give you summarized versions of who they are. Inky and Enlil are brothers. Inky is an illegitimate brother because he was born to a concubine. but he was the firstborn.
He's older. He's 52 or 53. Kleck is 58.
And Enlil was the true firstborn of the wife, but more importantly, he was firstborn of the wife who had to be a half-sister to the man, to the king, in order for him to maintain his kingly bloodline. So you have one illegitimate kid that was born first and one that is...
And I thought, pick up those two black rocks and I
Yes,
picked them
this
up
is
and
an
the Lord
ancient
said, "Put them
story.
together." Now what? Ancient statement. You wouldn't think that's possible today, but it's human trafficking of women and children. And they want to let that continue. The wall has stopped it so much because they will go over to a section where there aren't people, not an entry point, and they'll make a left into the United States. They're on their way. They can't do that anymore. We have a 30-foot wall that goes 6 feet into the ground. It stops a lot of the tunneling. If anybody's ever done anything like that. And prior to the plague pouring in from China, they were having the worst years, you know, in 67 years. And I don't want them to have a bad year.
1967, Stephen James Shawn was born.
I want them to have a good year, but they were taking advantage of the United States for many, many years. And that's stopping. But then the virus came in, and the world is a different place, but we're now getting back, and one of the reasons the market's doing so, it's almost at the point that it was at prior to the plague. Almost. We're getting very close. It's a great thing. It's an amazing thing what our people have done and what they've endured. No administration has been tougher on China than this administration. We imposed historic tariffs. We stood up to China's intellectual property theft at a level that nobody's ever come close. We confronted untrustworthy Chinese technology and telecom providers. We convinced many countries, and I did this myself for the most part, not to use Huawei because we think it's an unsafe security risk.
Now, because I'm saying that they're paying attention and are saying references to what I'm showing them, this also reminds me that he's talking about my predictions, which were bad as well, and the World Trade, you know, which is representing the second 9/11, waiting for those bombs to take place, and that I was being puppeted by China.
The world trade is terrible. That deal is terrible.
Because to me, Joe Biden and China represents Derek Broes, and Jonathan Kleck with the dragon as the two serpents.
Well, the World Health is a terrible deal. We've been very tough on the World Trade Organization, and we've been, I guess, as tough as you can get on World Health. We withdrew our money. We told them we're getting out. Doesn't mean that someday we won't go back in. Maybe we will when it's correctly run, but they made a lot of bad predictions, and they said a lot of bad things about what to do and how to do it, and they turned out to be wrong.
Because the only thing about what to do, the bad things, I don't agree with that. So that's where maybe I might be wrong. But the rest is possibly
they were
right.
A puppet of China. And make no mistake, we hold China fully responsible for concealing the virus and unleashing it upon the world. They could have stopped it. They should have stopped it.
Because they're both together, it's hard to differentiate each other. But I can understand how I'm being used to, some people might think that it's funny that I'm being used and that I could have been assassinated that night by going up to, in the morning, by going up to the rocky stairs and waiting for the bombs to happen and stepping in front of their script and stopping it. Now that's just me thinking wishfully, of course, even though it's exactly what happened. So I can understand where being puppeted around, I get it.
Stopped it. Would have been very easy to do at the source when it happened. They could have stopped it. They should have stopped it.
And then
would have been very easy to
having
do at
a
the
free
source
gift
when it
life
happened.
the entire
In
time.
contrast, Joe Biden's entire career has been a gift to the Chinese Communist Party and to the calamity of errors that they've made. They made so many errors.
Because, Derek, did you not come from heaven up above, like the actual literal land? Did you not come down from there?
Hundreds of billions of dollars a year from our country, and we rebuilt China. Give them all the credit in the world. The China virus, and to keep our people safe.
The vaccine is the truth.
Through Operation Warp Speed, we will deliver a vaccine in record-breaking time. We're doing very well on the vaccines. We have many, many different vaccines being studied right now,
To an individual
many of which are looking
to
really
do
good.
whatever it is that.
And we're ready to...
While we're listening to President Trump and the Rose.
I literally stopped and looked down, and I'm like looking at two separate rocks, and I hear the Lord tell me, pick up those two black rocks. I told you, I did a testimony, and I thought, pick up those two black rocks, and I picked them up, and the Lord said, put them together. Now watch this. And I put them together, and I went, oh my.
As he cuts this off, I knew there was a reason why he cut him off in the middle of a speech, and then I just seen it now. As soon as he cuts him off, it says, black rocks, huh?
And we're ready to...
While we're listening to President Trump and the Rose Garden, another breaking news story of the moment. Just
Now, it is the same day, and this is a garden that I'm at. It's absolutely a garden. And the same day, 5 or 6 hours later, Trump's talking and speaking the Broes Garden.
47 years, he never
The
came out
process
against
is
China.
falling.
They've been just the
Discussed
opposite. His
3,
son walked out
if you want to talk
with
about this,
$1.5
okay?
billion.
San Antonio, Texas. So like something's wrong. So like something's wrong. I'm Jonathan Kleck, and you can support the channel right here, jk@jonathankleck.com. There's by the way, some people have said there's other emails that have been attached to that account that they work also, but you know that's the way to do it, jk@jonathankleck.com. If you send it to a different email that's at PayPal, it all redirects into that just for your own peace of mind. So
it seems like Johnny got kicked out of where he was because he's in a different place.
And then if you want, our post office just moved, but I got to keep the same P.O. box. P.O. box.
My stepmom's name is Karen.
All the help we can get in Washington. Karen Handel. Karen, thank you very much, Karen. Thank you, Karen. And Rich McCormick. Rich, thank you. They'll be there soon, I hope. I hope. We need them. We need them. Get them in there. Thank you as well to a man who I became very good friends with, a man who was running against somebody that was unbeatable. Running against a superstar. I said, oh, she's a superstar. Wow. Can you beat superstars? I don't think so. But he figured out how to beat a superstar. And I don't know, is she still a superstar, Brian? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Because Kleck is referred to as the mother goddess.
I don't know. Superstars don't lose, do they? Governor Brian Kemp.
Brian Kemp. So that's what I do. I just look up the name and gematria and see what, you know, if they're referencing anything. Remember? I am Polish, by the way. But boy, am I tired.
I've watched this, and I've watched it with great interest.
July 14th, same day.
Today, Joe Biden gave a speech in which he said that the core of his economic agenda is a hard left crusade against American energy. He wants to kill American energy. He wants to re-enter the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord.
5 hours
No
earlier.
left-hand turns. You can only make a right turn, but do not enter. And this side is N1.
H1N1. He calls it N1H1. H1N1. Got very.
So all I'm doing is showing you poles. Signs that are on poles.
Thousands of additional lives would have been lost.
Same
And
day.
if you look at the job he did on swine flu, I looked at a pole. They have poles on everything nowadays. And they got very bad marks on the job they did on the swine flu. H1N1. He called. We're in tremendous economic competition, including Europe, which has never treated us well. The European Union was formed in order to take advantage of the United States. They formed, and they take advantage of the United States. And
They formed their host body system, take advantage of the United States.
I know that. They know I know that. But other presidents had no idea. Last week, Joe Biden released his unity platform developed with socialist Bernie Sanders, describing what he would do if elected president. The Biden-Sanders agenda is the most extreme platform of any major party nominee, by far, in American history. I think it's worse than actually Bernie's platform. It's gone so far right. World pouring into our country from all over the world. And by the way, the wall was so timely because it stopped people coming in from heavily infected areas.
This is my prediction. I'm here. It's past 5:55. There's no explosions.
And we don't want people that are going to come in and blow up our cities, do things. And frankly, with the liberal Democrats running the cities that we do have, where they do have problems, maybe they wouldn't mind. But then we wanted the Supreme Court. So I said, he lost. And they're right at the lower level. But in the meantime, we wanted the Supreme Court. So things are up at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Look at Chicago, what a disaster. And we're waiting for them to call us because we're all set to go. We have the FBI. We have Homeland Security. We have everybody ready to go. We have the National Guard. They're all ready to go. End cash bail, releasing dangerous criminals onto our streets. Cash bail. New York just did that. Other places have done it. They haven't turned out too good. Abolish completely the death penalty.
So here's where I was standing.
Thanks to all of you on television, we appreciate it. But we have the pictures. We have the man standing on.
Rocky pose.
But we have the pictures. We have the man standing on Andrew Jackson's horse. We have the man standing by General George Washington. We have everybody.